My name is Mr. Benson, and I'm 66 years old, living right here in Dallas. Most folks just call me Benson. I wake up before the sun most mornings, just like I always have, even after my lovely wife, Martha, passed on 5 years ago. Now my days are a bit quieter, but no less full. I work part-time as a busboy at a small diner on the edge of town called the Daily Spoon. It's not glamorous work, clearing tables, refilling water glasses, but it keeps me moving, keeps me around people. And honestly, it keeps a little bit of money coming in, which is important when you're on a fixed income, especially these days. My house, a little brick bungalow Martha and I bought back when we were first married, is getting old just like me. It needs a new roof, the plumbing rattles sometimes, and the paint is peeling in places. I try to fix what I can, patch what I can, but some things are just too big for one man in a small toolbox. I often catch myself staring at Martha's old rocking chair in the living room, remembering her laughter, her warmth. That's when the quiet struggles feel the loudest. The world feels a little bigger, a little colder without her beside me. I try to be strong to carry on, but some days it feels like I'm trying to hold back the tide with just my bare hands. I dreamt of a peaceful retirement, maybe a little garden, more time for my old books, but life, it seems, had other plans. Then came the morning my old sedan, a faithful Ford that had been with me for nearly 20 years, just wouldn't start. Not a cough, not a sputter, just a click, a sad, lonely click. I tried boosting it, checked the battery, tapped on the starter, everything I knew how to do from years of keeping old cars running. Nothing. It felt like a punch to the gut. That car wasn't just metal and tires, it was my lifeline. It got me to work, to the grocery store, to my doctor's appointments, to the quiet cemetery where Martha rests. Without it, I was marooned. I called a local mechanic, a young man named Tommy who always gave me a fair price, and he came out with his tow truck. He looked under the hood for a long time, shaking his head. "Mr. Benson," he said gently, "I think your engine finally decided to call it quits. It's not just a starter or a battery this time, it's big." My heart sank faster than a stone in a well. I knew what big meant. It meant a bill I couldn't possibly afford. It meant losing my independence, maybe even my job. The internal nemesis, that gnawing doubt, started whispering in my ear, "You're getting too old for this, Benson. You're becoming a burden. What if you just can't manage anymore? What if this is the beginning of the end?" That fear, the fear of losing control, of becoming helpless, was heavier than any weight I'd ever carried. I tried everything I could think of. I walked to the Daily Spoon for my shifts, a good 3 miles each way in the Dallas heat. My knees, already creaky, screamed in protest, and my back ached constantly, but I pushed through. I tried to pick up extra shifts, even offering to wash dishes after my busboy duties, but the diner was small, and there weren't many extra hours to go around. I cut back on everything. My coffee, usually a treat from a local shop, became instant coffee at home. My meals became simpler, smaller. I dug through old boxes in the attic, hoping to find something valuable I could sell, a forgotten antique or a piece of jewelry. I found Martha's old music box, a delicate thing with a ballerina inside, but I couldn't part with it. It held too many memories. I went to the bank, a place I'd been a customer with for decades, hoping for a small loan, but without a full-time job or significant collateral, they politely declined. The mechanic, Tommy, called a few days later with the official quote for the engine repair. It was nearly $5,000. $5,000. It might as well have been 5 million. My hands trembled as I hung up the phone. I just stared at the worn linoleum floor in my kitchen, feeling a cold dread spread through me. Then came the setbacks, one after another, like a cascade of falling dominoes. A sudden, sharp pain in my hip, a constant ache that made walking excruciating, forced me to miss 2 days of work. That meant even less money coming in. I felt isolated, trapped in my little house. I couldn't visit my friend Henry, who lived on the other side of town, or go to the community center for the senior card games I enjoyed. The silence in the house grew heavier. The walls seemed to close in. The electric bill arrived, higher than usual because of the summer heat, and I realized I was falling behind. I was scraping by before, but now I was sinking. I even considered buying a beat-up old bicycle I saw advertised online, thinking I could ride it to work, but the thought of navigating busy Dallas streets on 2 wheels with my bad hip filled me with terror. My lowest point arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. I had just received a final notice from the utility company, a red stamp on the envelope that screamed urgency. I looked out my window at my old Ford, still sitting lifelessly in the driveway, a monument to my mounting problems. The grass around it was starting to grow tall. I walked outside, slowly, painfully, and just stood there, resting my hand on its cold hood. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years since Martha passed, I felt tears welling up. Not just a few, but a steady stream rolling down my wrinkled cheeks. I felt utterly defeated, stripped bare of all strength. This is it. I thought, the internal nemesis roaring in my ears. You're done, Benson. You can't keep fighting. You're just too old, too tired. It's time to give up. The thought of just letting everything go, of curling up and waiting for the end, was a chilling comfort in its despair. I felt utterly, hopelessly alone at the very bottom of a very deep well. The next day I still made my way to the Daily Spoon, dragging my feet, my hip throbbing with every step. I kept my head down, cleared tables, filled water glasses, doing my best to act like everything was fine, but inside I was a hollow shell. As I was wiping down a table in a quiet corner, I heard a sniffle, then a soft sob. It was Sarah, one of our young waitresses, barely out of high school. She was sitting at a booth, her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Our owner, a kind woman named Mrs. Henderson, was talking to her, her voice low and comforting. I couldn't help but overhear. Sarah's car, her only way to get to work, and her evening college classes had broken down. The mechanic had just told her it would cost $5,000 to fix, money she absolutely didn't have. My heart ached for her. I saw myself in her desperation, the same impossible sum, the same fear of losing her job and her future. It was a mirror of my own suffering, but for someone so young with so much life ahead. A strange feeling washed over me, a mix of profound sadness for her and a sudden, quiet determination. I looked at the old, worn $5 bill in my pocket, all I had left after buying a cup of coffee. It felt utterly useless. I finished my shift, collected my meager earnings for the day, and then I went to the back room where the staff kept their belongings. I saw Sarah's small, worn purse on a shelf. I hesitated, my hand trembling. What good was my little bit of money? But then I remembered the crushing weight of that hopelessness, the internal nemesis telling me to give up. I couldn't fix my own problem, not yet, but maybe, just maybe, I could offer a tiny spark of hope to someone else. I took a deep breath, pulled out a $20 bill from my day's pay, and slipped it into her purse. It wasn't much, but it was all I could spare. Maybe this will buy her a bus pass for a few days, I mumbled to myself. As I walked out, a regular customer, an older gentleman who always ordered the pecan pie and coffee, caught my eye. He just nodded, a small, knowing smile on his face. I'd seen him many times, but we'd never really spoken beyond pleasantries. The next morning, when I arrived for my shift, Mrs. Henderson called me into her office, her face uncharacteristically serious. "Benson," she began, "something very unusual happened last night. After you left, a customer, one of our regulars, came up to me and asked about you. He said he noticed how tired you looked lately, how you were limping, and how you were always walking to work. He said he overheard you talking about your car trouble a few weeks ago, but you never complained, just kept working." My heart hammered against my ribs. Mrs. Henderson then handed me a thick, sealed envelope. "He left this. Said you're a good man, Benson, and that everyone deserves a break when they're down. He asked me to tell you not to worry about anything, just take care of yourself." Inside the envelope, neatly stacked, were 50 crisp $100 bills, $5,000. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped them. It was exactly the amount I needed for my car repair. It was an act of unexpected kindness, a miracle, dropped into my lap when I truly believed I was beyond help. I took a deep, shaky breath, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a powerful surge of hope. It was a leap of faith, not in myself, but in the boundless goodness of others. The resolution was swift and profound. I called Tommy, the mechanic, my voice thick with emotion, and told him to go ahead with the repair. A week later, my old Ford was humming like new again, its engine purring with a newfound energy. Getting behind the wheel felt like putting on a favorite coat, familiar and comforting, a feeling of independence restored. I could drive to work without pain, visit Henry, and even go to the cemetery to tell Martha about the kindness of a stranger. My new normal wasn't just about having a working car, it was about having my spirit repaired too. That act of generosity didn't just fix my car, it fixed me. It showed me that even when you feel completely alone, someone out there sees you, someone cares. It completely changed my outlook. The internal nemesis, that voice of doubt and fear, had been silenced, replaced by a quiet strength. Now I look for ways to pay that kindness forward every single day. I still work at the Daily Spoon, but I don't just clear tables anymore. I listen more closely to people, to the quiet struggles behind their smiles. I started volunteering at the local senior center, offering rides to folks who can't get around easily using my trusty Ford. I make sure to chat with the new waitresses at the diner, especially the young ones struggling with college and bills. One day, I saw Sarah, the young waitress whose car had broken down, and her car was also back in the parking lot. She looked tired but relieved. I slipped her an extra generous $20 tip, just like the one I'd given her before, but this time I also left a little note that said, "Keep pushing forward, Sarah. You're doing great." I didn't mention the $5,000, but I hoped my small gesture reminded her of the kindness that exists. I realize now that the old gentleman who helped me must have seen me help Sarah that day, too. It was a chain reaction of small acts of warmth, each one inspiring the next. I never did find out the name of the man who gave me the $5,000. Mrs. Henderson said he just wanted to be anonymous. But sometimes when I'm driving, I'll pass that familiar pecan pie and coffee customer on the street, and he'll offer me a small, knowing nod, a secret understanding passing between us. I smile back, a deep warmth spreading through my chest. Things truly do get better, not just by chance, but by the quiet, powerful acts of connection and kindness that weave us all together, making the world a brighter, more hopeful place, one generous heart at a time. It's a beautiful twist of fate, really, how one person's unseen generosity can mend not just a broken car, but a broken spirit, and then inspire countless more acts of goodness, creating a ripple effect that spreads far beyond what anyone could ever imagine.